The house is burning, but we're still sitting in the glow. Phones charged, lights on, pretending we don't know. But the forest is silent, the river's running low, and the flame on our plates is the strongest fire we throw. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is your hour. 7 boundaries broken, the earth pushed past the line. Climate, land, species, fresh water, chemicals, nutrients, oceans in decline. Not danger, disaster in real time. Put out the fire, ooh, put out the fire. Metafoodians rise, this is your power. And here in India, one truth stands the same. Milk is not just milk, dairy feeds the flame. Cows and methane, fields and forests turn to grain. Politics, culture, carbon, all wired to the same chain. Every cup of curd is heat in the air. Every block of butter is a forest repair. It's not a small habit, it's a planetary affair. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is our hour. Energy fixes half the hurt, Dr. Rao made that clear. But food fixes the other half, the half that's burning here. Change the plate, change the land, change the future's atmosphere. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Metafoodians unite, this is your choir. Every millet, every fruit, every sapseed, every bean is water on the wildfire of a world we've never seen. Every oil-free bite is a river turning clean. This is not perfection, it's direction. Not pressure, but protection. A week of choices can cool a generation. A company's courage can ignite a nation. Put out the fire, ooh, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is your hour. Metafoodians unite, Metafoodians ignite. Sharing love in the metazone, light in the path to a cooler home. Put out the fire, ooh, put out the fire. Together we rise, together we inspire.
Welcome to the Planet B podcast, where truth, transformation, and faith converge. Join us as we flip the script on ecological despair, guided by Dr. Sailesh Rao's vision for a compassionate, rewilded vegan world. Let's begin the journey to the greatest transformation in human history.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 18, The Need for a Spiritual and Cultural Transformation. Dr. Rao, thanks for joining us once again.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, it'd be great to start with your opening quote by Carl Sagan.
Yeah, Carl Sagan's quote he said, science is not only compatible with spirituality, it is a profound source of spirituality. And so what I get from that quote is that when you pursue truth through science, you eventually begin to see that it aligns with the eternal truths that are, the ancient wisdom keepers have been telling us. Okay, so it's the same truth. You come to the same truth no matter which way you arrive at it. So science becomes a profound source of spirituality because you begin to see the perfection of the system design that's nature.
Very beautiful. So at the beginning of chapter 18, you state that animal husbandry is not only the leading cause of climate change, but biodiversity loss and ecosystem collapse. So Dr. Rao, why are we still talking about fossil fuels then?
Well, that's where I use Gus Peth's quote, right? Gus Peth was saying that if you ask scientists, please solve these problems, they could have done it. We could have done it, a long time ago. So he said, I used to think the top environmental problems were biodiversity loss, ecosystem collapse, and climate change. I thought that with 30 years of good science, we could address these problems. But I was wrong. The top environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy. And to deal with those, we need a spiritual and cultural transformation. And we scientists don't know how to do that. Right? Now, Gus Peth is one of the top environmentalists in America. He was the founder of the Natural Resources Defense Council, and he was the Dean of Environmental Studies at Yale University. So he knows what he's talking about, and I'm saying those three problems that he stated were the three problems that the UN identified in 1992 at the Rio Summit. Climate change was actually the third problem. The first was loss of biodiversity. The second was the ecosystems collapse, meaning desertification. So they formed three conventions: the Convention on Biological Diversity, the UN Convention to Combat Desertification, and the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. So that was the third one, right? Now, initially, they were all meeting every year. And then I think in 1995 or 1996, they decided they're going to de-emphasize biodiversity loss and ecosystems collapse. And those were going to meet only once every 2 years. And climate change, we're going to continue meeting every year. So this is why it's COP31 for climate change. That's going to happen in Turkey this year. And it's COP16 for biodiversity loss, and COP16 for desertification, UNCCD. And so why did they get de-emphasized? Because there it is very obvious that animal husbandry is the leading cause. You cannot argue against that. It's only in climate change you can kind of massage the data and make it look like fossil fuels. And that's what they were doing. It was just an elaborate deception, so to speak, because the entire system is based on deception. How do I persuade someone to buy my story and therefore buy what I'm selling? That's the kind of system that we have created. And this is why it has to be a cultural transformation. We have to change how we deal with each other. No more of this deception. We are trying to solve common problems. You cannot have deception as the one that's running it, And
Right.
once you realize that animal agriculture is the leading cause of all three of these problems, then it's a personal transformation that needs to happen, right? We have to stop eating animals, and we have to do that. We have to understand that we really don't need to eat animals,
Right.
or anything. Okay. There also we were deceived into thinking you need to eat animals.
Right. Which goes into the foundational myths.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you talk about a spiritual and cultural transformation, it has to come from the people themselves and the people demanding that the system change to meet their new needs.
Right. Right. And that was actually my next question. So in chapter 18, you state that the spiritual and cultural transformation must come from the people themselves.
Yeah.
So could you elaborate on that a little bit, please?
Yeah, people have to want to do this themselves. It cannot be imposed on people. You cannot go around saying, you're not going to become a Buddha. No, it's not through force you make people change, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. System driven by fear is driven by laws and prescriptions. You cannot do something, you have to stay in this lane. So they give you all these rules. But a system based on love is based on freedom. Love always comes with a choice. So you have the freedom to choose. And so you have to tell people, this is the truth is you don't need to eat this. You'll be perfectly fine without eating it. And by eating it, you're causing global hunger. By eating it, you're causing the planet to die. Do you still want to eat it? Now, I'm not going to help you go kill the animal for you, right? That's up to you if you want to do that. But again, right now we are in a system that kills the animal for people, right? So, and to have a system like that, you have to create hunger. Otherwise, no one wants to go and be the guy who goes and kills animals for food.
Right.
So you have to make them hungry in order to make them work in slaughterhouses. So the entire system is based on this myth that you have to eat animals in order to survive.
All right.
Right? Yeah.
How does fear propel this planet A system and these myths?
Fear, you begin by saying that you don't belong unless we tell you that you belong. And how do we tell you that you belong? Well, if you do something that we like, we'll give you some money. That allows you the help of others. Otherwise, you're saying, if you don't have any money, you're totally dependent on others, and who's going to help you if you don't pay them? So everything is built on transactions in a system where by default, you don't have any money.
All right.
So by default, making sure that no one has money, and then they have to depend on a social safety net that is not reliable, forces people to follow the rules and to stay in their lane, to go obey those who have money, right? You have to obey those who have money. And that's the fear. So the fear is created systematically with the money system that we have created, right? Now, it's a money system that we inherited. It's not something that we designed, in this generation. We inherited it, and our parents inherited it from their parents, who inherited it from their parents. So if you go back, you realize someone cooked this up in order to maintain their power, right? And it got propagated because there are those in power who wanted to maintain their power.
Yep.
So you have a system where there are billionaires, right, or millionaires, and those who have lots and lots of money, and who can pretty much say, I know, I want this to happen, and it should happen to them, right?
Yep.
Even if it means bending the law. So this is why I wasn't surprised by when I found out that billionaires were going and exploiting little girls.
Yeah.
Because that's their fantasy, and they want to go and say, I have billions of dollars, so why can't I fulfill my fantasy, right?
All right.
And that's the kind of abuse that happens. And in a system in which we are routinely abusing the children of other species, we should expect our billionaires to start abusing the children of our own species.
All right. So, Dr. Rao, do you feel that animal husbandry and the consumption of animals is at the core of this self-propagating fear that is created in the Planet A systems?
Correct. It's one of the foundational fears that drives all the other fears, because you see it's an exploitative system, and as human beings, we look at animals and who are being exploited terribly and say, at least I'm better off than them. And we are taught that you need to exploit animals in order to get an essential macronutrient in your diet. And a lot of people believe that. So 90% of Americans in a survey believe that you have to eat animals in order to get protein. Without it, you're going to wither away and die, right? So this is why it's important for us as vegans to be healthy, to be a shining example of health. So we can bust that myth by example.
Right.
But fear drives the system, making sure that you don't get any money unless you do what the master wants. Anyone with a lot of money is a master, right? They're going to say, I want this, come and deliver it to me, and I'll give you money for that. So that's how it's a very transactional system that we have created, okay, in which it's driven by fear. People work because otherwise they may not be able to eat. And again, that hunger is manufactured hunger. There's plenty of food on the planet.
Right.
But that food is being initially fed to animals so that we create an artificial scarcity from a natural abundance, right? And so by persuading people to eat animals, you're constantly creating that artificial scarcity. So there is plenty of hunger at the bottom always. So that you have plenty of workers who would do all the jobs that no one would do otherwise, like slaughterhouse work or mining, things like that no one would do. You have to understand the history of this, because when the Industrial Revolution started in the 16th century, and India was part of the British Empire, okay, people in India did not pay for food. Food was always free because it was growing everywhere. Why would you pay for something that's growing everywhere? Right?
Yeah.
It's an abundance, and therefore, what the colonizers found out is that it's impossible to make Indians work for things. So you had to create an artificial scarcity to begin with. So that's when they instituted these collectors in districts. So they divided up the country into districts, and they had district collectors who would go and collect grain from people, from farmers. So they would tax villages in the same grain, collect the grain, put it in trains, and take it and store it in warehouses. So they started controlling the food.
Wow.
And only then they could get the people to work. So they got Indians to migrate all over the place, right? So this is how Indians got to be in Fiji, in West Indies, in South Africa. All of that was to do work for labor. And it was through hunger, through deliberate hunger. So we have records now from when the English East India Company gave away their control to the British government, to the British Crown. Then the British Parliament kept records. And in those records, we know that there were 25 famines between 1857 and 1947, in 90 years.
Wow. That's crazy.
And over 60 million Indians died of hunger in those days, okay, during those famines. Now that's about 750,000 people dying of hunger in India alone per year on average. Today, 9 million people die of hunger-related causes worldwide. So it is the same system. It's just disguised through animal agriculture. Animal agriculture is the means by which scarcity is created on the planet. Okay? And
so bizarre.
It's actually very systemic, right? So I look at it as a system. So this is how the system induces labor.
Mm.
Okay, it forces you to get up and say, I have to work,
Right.
right? Because otherwise you could say, I want to paint,
Mm.
or I want to sing, I want to dance, because I have plenty to eat.
Maybe even take a nap.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. But then
Oh,
you're not
geez.
serving the master, right? So
Right.
that's the problem that the
Yeah.
master faces.
Yeah. And this goes right into the next question. So in chapter 18, you state that systems based on fear are dictated from the top down, but systems based on love are originated from the bottom up through conscious choices.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
could you just share a bit more about that, please?
Yeah. System based on fear, they have to force you to do things because otherwise, it's obviously if there is fear in the system, you know, you're inducing fear in the system, then there are a lot of people who are doing things that they would not want to do
Right.
otherwise, right? That's why there is fear because you have to force people to do things.
Mm.
Yeah. A system based on love is uh, from the bottom up, where people know that they're secure, but they have to volunteer to do something. And why would they do something? Because it needs to be done.
Mm.
There's a necessity for something to happen. Okay? And you then ask people, would you like to help with this? Would you like to help with this? Because we know it needs to get done. If it doesn't get done, the community suffers.
Right.
So there is it's a love-based motivation because I want to help the community, and that's why I want to do something, right?
Right.
As opposed to, because if it was I have to do this in order to help this one guy, not just help, just to pamper him, no one would do
Mm.
it, right? No one would do that.
No,
This is
I don't
why
think I would.
they create a system of fear.
Right.
Those with power try to create a system of fear so that they maintain their power and they maintain their. And this is where they're always lacking something because they need it.
Mm.
They feel that need, right? And so that's the fear that's taken to the extreme. So you have to somehow convince them, come along, nothing is going to happen to you. You'll be fine in a love-based system
Right.
that we are creating.
So how does this spiritual and cultural transformation happen from a systems perspective? Because even today we talked a lot about how this planet A is a fear-driven approach, and what does this bottom-up culture of love look like on planet B?
So we have to create a system around volunteerism.
Mm.
So I've seen smaller examples of this where people say, I go to Sadhana Forest where Olga walks around with a, with a pad and says, this needs to get done this week and who's going to volunteer? And people raise their hands, and she gets enough volunteers every time, right?
Mm.
And things get done. Okay, you see that happening at a small scale like that. Now, how do you now formalize it and create a system in which volunteerism gets things done for the community? So you imagine a bulletin board on your phone, an app that says you belong to this one community and these are the things that need to get done, and so many people are volunteered to do this, so many people are volunteered to do this, but there is a lack here.
All right.
Right. So you would choose to go and say, okay, I want to volunteer for that. And if the community has lots of tasks not getting done, that community is not functioning well.
Mm.
Right. In a community that functions well, everything gets done, and everyone agrees that these are the tasks that need to get done.
All right.
Right. So you have to create a participatory governance system, and you have to create this formal system for volunteerism. Right.
Mm.
and making sure that, so all the systems have to transform. So the food system has to be, it's not about I'm going to make you hungry unless you do what I tell you, which is what the planet A is based on, right? I mean, just think, it's been going on for hundreds of years and it's almost invisible to us
Yeah.
that hunger is used as the means to drive labor in the system.
Yeah. Do you see this? So on planet A, all of the structures are very like hierarchical,
Hmm.
where we are in a way, as you said, like serving the master. Do you see on planet B it having this hierarchical structure, or is it more level?
It's much more flattened out, is what I see. Because basically, a hierarchical structure is how you systematize selfishness, greed, and apathy.
Right.
Okay. So you have to now create a structure for systematizing selflessness, generosity, and activism.
That's
The
beautiful.
opposite of the three,
Hmm.
right? And we have to, experiment with that, because remember, this system that we have today was built over hundreds of years, or maybe even thousands of years. Okay.
Hmm.
So it's honed itself, it knows how to force people to do things,
All right.
right? And so we have to now start experimenting and creating these new systems. But you can pretty much understand it's a game we are playing,
Hmm.
right? So I see the currency system as part of the game we are playing, and it's a game that drives this,
All right.
right? So it's like Monopoly, right? Once you play Monopoly, and at the end there's one person who has all the money, and then what do
Everyone,
you do,
everyone
right?
else is broke.
Everybody's broke, and everybody becomes the servant of that person who has the money, right?
Right.
So that's where this planet A system is headed towards,
Hmm.
right? As
So,
inequality keeps increasing, that's where it's headed.
right. And that's it's a wonderful segue into in this chapter you talk about how on the Planet A systems, selfishness and greed are handsomely rewarded, and that reward is usually a financial. And that's where
Correct.
this hierarchical structure kind of keeps going, really. Um, what actions would be rewarded within the Planet B system, and how would they be rewarded?
Well, it will be selflessness and generosity that gets rewarded, and basically it's rewarded in the sense that you get to deploy more of the resources for the well-being of others,
Hmm.
more of the community resources. Or it's or you get promoted to be on a council that does
Hmm.
that allocation, right? So we have to sort of uh, think about, how do you create systems in which those who are trusted, who really have the well-being of everyone, who are well along on that journey, have more resources to help others, to help everyone, and no one is left behind. So there has to be a universal basic income so that everyone
All right.
feels secure. Okay, so this is ensuring that no one is inside the hole of the donut.
All
You
right.
know, and I say, go back to the food system that used to be there in India, for instance, where no one paid for food,
Hmm.
and it was all healthy whole foods, because whatever was growing in the trees you could eat, right? So healthy whole
Right.
foods were
Right.
already available for everyone. The food system fundamentally codes the culture of,
Hmm.
of our civilization. If the food system is built on cruelty to animals, built on hunger for human beings, and so on, that's the culture of your civilization. If the food system is based on generosity, you're giving it away, and it's all healthy foods. No one is conning you into eating things that make you sick because they're making money off of you, right?
All right.
So you are now creating a new culture in the food system itself. So I say, this is why I've been promoting food healers, saying we need to make sure that healthy food is free to everybody.
Right.
And I've been calling on temples and churches to come together and make that happen. Like the Hare Krishna movement, where Swami Prabhupada started that. He said, I think within a few kilometers of every Hare Krishna temple, no one should be hungry.
Hmm.
Right? That was his. This is why they give out free food. The only thing I would add to that is make it healthy. Make it a whole food plant-based meal.
All right. Could you talk a little bit about food healers, about that program?
Yeah, the whole idea of Food Healers was to create an app where you can say, I'm going to serve food on this day, and anyone can join the app and say, I want to start an event where I serve food on this day. And anyone can come and eat that food for free. So I was expecting churches and temples to use that app so that people know where to go to get healthy food.
All right.
No matter where you are, right? Because people should not be deprived of healthy food. That's how the current system works. We want to create a system that is good for everybody. We have to create a food system in which healthy food is given away.
Yeah.
By default. Okay. Now there are a lot of temples. Like recently, there was a temple in Ayodhya, and the government passed a rule saying within a 15-kilometer radius of that temple, no one is allowed to eat meat and fish and eggs.
Hmm.
Only vegetarian is allowed. Meaning dairy is allowed, but not meat. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a ban. They put a ban on the sale of food items in a 15-kilometer radius of the temple. So that's a Planet A style approach of trying to impose something. I said instead the temple should be offering free healthy vegan food within the 15-kilometer radius.
All right.
How do you do that? Well, you cook food in the temple, you cook food and you serve it away in community centers within the 15-kilometer radius. Right? And you say it comes from the temple, from those who have been donating to the temple. The temple gets a lot of donations. And rather than using it to buy gold jewelry for the gods, I say please just buy food and cook food and give it away, right?
All right.
That would please God more than having jewelry put on a statue.
Amen. So
Right.
true. Yeah. So Dr. Rao, so as we wrap up this episode, could you share some of the other projects that Climate Healers is working on that are bringing forth this spiritual and cultural transformation that we would like to implement on Planet B?
Yeah, there are several initiatives that need to happen within the system transformation. One is, of course, the food system has to be transformed, the education system has to be transformed, the economic system has to be transformed, the currency system has to be transformed. It's everything. It's a whole system transformation that needs to happen. The purpose of humanity needs to be transformed. So we'll go into that in each of the next few chapters. I'm going to be talking about the values that need to be transformed. Again, the values come from the game we are playing. So the money game becomes the most important game that we need to transform. And so we are working on all aspects of this because, and this is why I'm really busy, But again, we need a lot of expert help in each of these. I know what needs to be done, so I can say these are the things that need to be done. But in each of the areas, I need experts to come along and help, right? Or it could be AI that becomes the expert now, right? To help out, yeah. Because we need to do a complete revision of the curriculum in engineering colleges. Because to me, it's human engineered systems that are in conflict with the life support systems, right? And these are human engineered systems. So which means you have to re-engineer all the human systems to be in alignment with the life support systems. This is not a nice to have. It's absolutely essential for us to live on this planet. Okay?
It's the greatest transformation in human history.
Correct. And it's an engineering transformation. It's primarily an engineering transformation. And so I'm trying to get my engineering colleagues to understand that, that there's a lot that needs to change in our profession.
It is a wonderful time to be alive, and we're moving into Planet B, and we encourage everyone to come and help out. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Awesome, Dr. Rao. So as we wrap up episode 18, is there any final message you'd like to share with our audience today?
Hold on and come along with us for the ride. Okay, it's going to be exhilarating.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Next up, episode 19, we'll go into chapter 19 of Dr. Sailesh Rao's book, There is a Planet B, and the title is From Climate Heating to Climate Healing. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
This has been a podcast from Planet B, where stewardship means care, not control. If you haven't moved here yet, we thank you for visiting.
Go ahead, Danny.
Hi, we have two questions. One is mine, and that is, what are the 8 healing actions?
Oh, yeah, the 8 healing actions are going to come up in chapter 20, I think episode 20, which is,
Okay.
yeah, the self-transformation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Sai asks, activism is the opposite of apathy, question mark. Please explain. Thank you.
Well, apathy means that you just don't want to do anything. Saying, oh, nothing will change and I don't have to do anything. I'll just go along with the flow. That's apathy. Activism means you are actively changing things. You are actively doing things to, so activism to me is the exact opposite of apathy, because apathy is going with the flow. Activism means changing the flow.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So all 3 of those, like I do, selfishness goes to selflessness. Apathy goes to activism, and greed goes to generosity. So greed means I want to hoard for myself. Generosity means I want to give away what I have. Right?
And I guess if people weren't so insecure about their own needs, they'd be more generous, but there's massive insecurity.
Correct. Yeah, because it's a system. It's not their fault. We are all stuck in a system that induces this fear, right? The scarcity. It's a scarcity model.
Yeah.
So when you're born into a system like that, and then you're funneled into it, you can't blame people for being like that.
Yeah. So then how do they transform if they're insecure about their own needs being met?
Yeah, I mean, few of us have to wake up, those who have the choices. Like, I made money working on the internet. So I said, okay, I'm going to use that and deploy that for creating this. I mean, I didn't make a lot of money. So whatever I have, I'm using it, right? So it says that at some point I'm convinced this is the only way out, then why would I hoard? If I hoard and I discover that, things didn't change on time, I'll be blaming myself later. Why the heck did I hoard it? I mean, so you're putting money into the stock market and you're growing it. It's basically, you're basically amplifying planet A by doing that. Then he said, then I will use that to create planet B. Well, you already amplified planet A. What point do you take it out of that and then start using it to build planet B? So it's that mindset, right? And that mindset, well, why did I go invest in that? Because that's what everybody is doing. and I'm scared that I won't have enough for my retirement. So there's a fear, there's an underlying fear that the community will abandon you. And the system depends on that fear.
Thank you.
Sure. Go ahead, Tammy.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever
Good
you are.
evening.
Um, this always brings up the book that Paul and I are still working on, Grief Mapping, and the book that we finished, but I haven't been able to launch it all because I really want to work on Calf and Cow. But I really do feel that apathy comes out of deep grief that's accumulated over time that we're not even aware of. That starts in childhood, just not even being able to hold on to any personal needs sovereignty. It's trained out of us at a young age. I remember some of the trauma that I felt in grade 1 because the teacher was always hitting kids with the yardstick. And I remember learning my cursive letters very well in grade 1 because I disappeared into the cursive letters that were all around the top of the walls in the grade 1 class. So, I think it's a survival mechanism, honestly, and I think it's a survival mechanism out of deep grief. So when I was working with a coach many years ago, and these 5 other stages of grief that are kind of an add-on of Kubler-Ross's, which the first one is felt sense shock. And, I see a couple of people on here that have contributed to the book, and it will be a book, I promise, hopefully around the same time, Calf and Cow, so that we can move, because the whole thing around seeing this more trauma, we don't want to just accumulate more grief. Like Paul can't watch any of the videos. He doesn't need to watch any of the videos because I'm putting together a little bit of a trailer yesterday. And we don't want to accumulate more grief, so we need to know what we can see, what we don't need to see. So we allow ourselves to feel whatever shock and allow it to move through us, through self, a sacred relationship with self. And then we move, the second stage is empathy and compassion. Empathy, feel it deeply, allow yourself to feel it, but then move into compassion, move into the movement of empathy to make a change. And then the third step is creative action, because it's literally moving. Instead of the fight or flight or freeze, we're doing something right away. And so many activists will say that I just want to take a photo and show people this photo. I want to create a cow save. I want to, and then you're not alone. And in social work, it's called like the cathartic effect of being in the same boat.
Okay.
Paul was just saying, I didn't even really know activists before I met you. Now I'm one. So he said he felt very lonely in being a person that was a vegetarian and vegan. So for me, if I don't move that grief, I become apathetic really quickly because we live in a world that wants us to be that way. And if we
Right.
really understand that, it's like Gabriel Cousins used to always say, when we dumb people down enough, they're easy to control.
Mhm.
And I don't mean
Right.
that in a negative way, but we give them so many distractions. Like my grandkids used to run and jump at me at the door when I came in. But if they're watching some distracted thing on TV, they don't want me to bother them. That's the difference. It's huge. Like from running into my arms to not even wanting me to come near them because they're so fixated. That's part of this cultural sleepwalking that we're doing, and I'm not immune to it. I sometimes want to numb out because it's too much, and it's catching myself in there and taking a creative action. So I am so grateful for this community, because how many people I know, my family here, have had a place to land, Sailesh. So thank you for always holding it together, for being that person that always says yes. I know I'm contacting you about things, and I have no idea how you get it done, but it's like, Sailesh, I really need this to move forward. I feel kind of stuck, and you're like, okay, done. So I just want
Thank you,
to.
Tammy.
I know it's such a big deal to have you there, to always say yes to us. You want a podcast? Yes. You want to do this? Yes. Because I know behind the scenes, I was just talking to Paul about Rebecca and her loyalty. Like when I was in Toronto, I could feel her deep love and loyalty, that you've given us a place to land and work from. That's such a gift you've given us. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh,
And thank you, all of us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Your
thanks,
beard's
Tammy.
getting longer in the editing process, Amit. You're just like, I don't have time to shave. Barely have time to go to the washroom. Thank you. Thank you, Amit, for editing all these videos, and whoever's helped you. I think Toby's helped.
It's
I
all
don't know.
teamwork. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Allison, Toby, yeah, Rebecca with her voice. Yeah. The driving force is Dr. Sailesh. Yeah. And then Mike,
but I
who
know, Amit,
interviewed it.
you've been staying up many nights
I've
editing.
been. Yeah. I found my purpose. I found the way I can use my skills to, yeah, help others. Yeah.
Yeah, we are exemplifying this volunteer work
Right.
Yeah.
that we want on Planet B.
But
Absolutely.
thank you, everyone. We know it's a short window. You have till the end of the month. I know for Calf and Cow, if I put in some extra hours and maybe not do a full hour yoga and just do 20 minutes in the morning, it's temporary. But part of the sacred relationship of being together is really, we have to spiraling back to ourselves in the center, though. We do. Because otherwise, I don't know, kind of a weird kind of grief kind of accumulates because we're tired and we're not taking care of ourselves. Anyways, I've talked too long and I'm all over the place. This is like following a rabbit down the rabbit hole listening to me. But it's the way my mind thinks. Sorry.
No,
Love
I
you all.
see. I see you as someone who centers the person, whereas I center the system. I look at the system and I say, okay, how do I intervene in the system?
Mm-hmm.
How do I create these systems that allow people to flourish
Mm-hmm.
themselves? Again, that's what I'm trying to do, right? Thank you for that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Brown.
It was actually me.
Oh, you. Okay. I
It's
didn't like that.
okay. So my thoughts go very out to the whole difference between the West and the Orient. Coming from the Netherlands, where colonialism was one of the main ways to survive for many centuries. And then having my eyes had been opened by my brother-in-law, who like he was an engineer, and then when he stopped, he went to Manali, and he started something called Share. And one of the things he did was to, because they were all cutting the trees there, so he gave them alternatives so they didn't have to do that in many ways, solar cooking and all of that. But what I am worried about most is that the Western European mindset is still, dominating so much. It's going crazy right now. Let's face it, totally crazy. And hopefully
Right.
it going crazy right now will be followed by a wake up of,
Right.
in this country, especially in the Western mindset, that
Right.
if we don't get our act together and do things together with other people, and we continue as the lone rider, which is the American prototype of the hero, and if we don't do that, then it's all over pretty soon for all of us. But how to bring that reality to people who mostly are in our culture that Brahm and I live, they're mostly Western people who don't have that insight and conviction yet. They don't see that. They don't see that it is, number one is first, and most important. And then we may think about other people and, our tribe or who is it and so forth.
Right.
But that is definitely number two in the whole
Right.
attitude of the Western world. So, hopefully that will shift. I mean, I see that out of despair here, things are shifting
Right.
big time.
Right.
I see it here in Vermont. I see it in how they deal with our friend Moses Madawi, who is our neighbor right now. And people are gathering because things are getting so threatening in many, many ways. So that's what I was sort of like wanted to share. Yeah. But thank you for
It's entirely understandable. See, first thing we need to do is we need to understand, and then fear disappears. Okay? So try to understand why this is the way it is.
Yeah.
So what I tried to do was to say, okay, why is the West that way? And why is the East that way? Okay? Because in the East, especially in my culture, it's like, let go. I mean, some things will work out. So we always have that attitude of letting go and letting God, let go and let God, right? And the reason for that is you lived in abundance. In the East, we lived in abundance. We had fruits all the time. We had grains all the time. We had food all the time. So nature was bountiful. You came to a place where nature was bountiful. Remember, we all came out of Africa, okay, 50,000 years ago. So some of us went to places where nature was bountiful, so we could live in abundance. Some of us went to places where nature was not bountiful.
Yeah.
Nature was very harsh.
Yeah.
So you had to survive. You had to struggle to survive in the West. Okay, because you went to this place where it was cold 6 months in a year and nothing grew, and you had to suck on the udder of a cow to survive. Right. So these are the things, so scarcity was built into the West. So, but that scarcity forced you to create better weapons in the West. Okay. So now when you create better weapons, because you have to survive, you can conquer others with that. So that's how colonialism came to be, because you could conquer, you have better weapons than the others. Right? Now, once you have conquered, now you have to see, do we just force our culture on everybody? Or do we have some humility to say maybe there is something we can learn from others? When you have that openness to understand, openness to hear others and to learn from others, now you discover that actually our species has been given this gift of abundance. As a whole, we have been given abundance. Okay? And we are still acting like we have scarcity. Right? And it's that, hey, do we not see you have abundance? We have 6 times as much food as we need. We can feed another 4 billion people if we stop eating animals. So why are we eating animals? Because we are scared that we may not have enough. And we may lose the power, whatever it is. They're scared of something. That's why they're still eating animals. And so it's now, waking people up and saying, look, you're no longer in this environmental scarcity. We have abundance, and we have to now help the other species who are truly living in scarcity, because their habitats have been fragmented and they cannot even move, they cannot even meet each other. So the other animals, the wild animals, are truly in scarcity. So we have to now have the generosity to go help them. Okay? Only then will we survive on this planet. So Mother Earth is telling us, look, I've given you abundance. You have everything you need to solve your problems. Now, do you have the intelligence to solve your problems? Or do you follow someone who's behaving like a 5-year-old, saying, I want my Greenland, This is what's going on, right? It's kind of absurd when you think about it. It's so absurd, what's going on there. But will people wake up and see that? That's what we are trying to do. We have to tell these stories of abundance, and that there is no difference between us across national boundaries, or what does this mean? It's American. What does it mean?
Yeah.
You have to abandon the idea that you own land. You don't own anything. Okay? We are all here for a brief period of time and then we disappear. So completely changing the mindset around.
Yeah.
And so we are Jamin is planning like a press conference later to try and tell people, look, there is a way out and we don't have to kill each other over it. If we kill each other over it, which is what the current system wants to do. Okay, Planet A has always had this mindset. You have to have periodic bloodletting. Periodically kill a whole bunch of people because that creates a lot of activity, economic activity. And then rebuilding also creates a lot of economic activity. So then you can keep growing, right? So when you say growth should not be a goal in a system, that's the foundational observation. And then you say growth comes from the currency system. So now, we have to re-architect the currency system. So it's a system architecture problem. Okay. When you architect the system, then people themselves who are in the system will automatically transform. Because they're playing a different game. So think of like chess players playing chess. And each person wants to go and capture the king of the other side, right? Right. So there is a very oppositional game. It's a competitive game you're playing. Now there is another game in chess which is, I call it gay chess. Instead of a king and a queen, I have two kings. And the purpose of the gay chess is for both sides to get into a stalemate. So they have to collaborate to figure out how to get all the kings stuck so they cannot move. Now that people do play that game, okay, and it's beginning now. That's a collaborative game. So both sides have the same objective. Okay. When you start playing games like that, it's no longer about competing with the other person. It's about helping the other person. Hey, let's do this. Yeah. So we need to be that if we want to save the planet, right? If you want to restore the life support systems of the planet, we have to collaborate. So fundamentally, that already tells us you cannot continue playing this competitive game. This nation state is a competitive game. So, the disputes that are happening between Europe and the US and all this, it's still in Planet A. It's still in the same mindset of Planet A. If you're still in Planet A, we're all going to die. There's no question. So we have to get to this different mindset. We have to collaborate as a species in order to save not only the life support systems of the planet, but also ourselves and all the other animals. To create a beautiful world.
Yeah.
Can I add a little thing to it? First of all, I'm so impressed by these chapters which you're talking with all the illustration. It's truly amazing what you're showing.
Thank Amit and the team who did the videos. I just spoke. They did all the illustrations so that you understand.
Yeah. Yeah, but still, and I appreciate also the fact that you are doing this for 18 people.
No,
It's,
no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I mean, I've said to people, but I'm not pretending to be Jesus or anything like that. Jesus had only 12 people that he was talking to, right? So, but
no,
meaning, from 12, it went to 2 billion. It
I
can
think
grow really fast. Yeah.
I think you're very right that you need a few people like Jesus had 12 disciples,
Right.
which was enough to change most of the world.
Right.
What I wanted to say that there are other people like you also in this world.
Mhm.
There's the two I like most is Thich Nhat Hanh, who passed away, but he said also the two important things was love and understanding.
Right.
I think the
Absolutely.
love we learn from the Eastern culture, but I think the understanding we got from the Western culture, the sciences. And so we needed actually the United States exploiting, but getting science enormous because of freedom there.
Mhm.
And so it's very close to, we need people to understand. And we have now, for example, our friend Mosen. He's in the Gaza, he was on the West Bank, and he's now trying to put peace between Israel and the Gaza population. But actually, his case is now almost coming up to the Supreme Court. It's very, very clear. But he's so clear. He's very young. He's 32. He's so clear, and he can change people. I think
Mhm.
and that's
Well,
one person. So it's
right.
amazing we have people like those people around. We are very lucky.
Right. 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 It's also, I divided it up as West is West and science. West brought the gift of science to humanity.
Yeah,
And science is a way to understand the outer truth,
yeah,
the
yeah.
truth in the material world. Okay. Whereas the East brought spirituality and the understanding of the inner truth,
Definitely.
the inner truth
Mhm.
that you are already whole. You don't have to go look for things outside. You already have it. Okay. So but it's the melding of the two. So now we understand why we need the outer truth, because we have to stabilize the life support systems of the planet, right? That cannot be done by just meditating.
No.
You have work to do, right? Otherwise you'll keep going in and out of a glaciation. So it's saying, okay, now you don't have to go in and out of glaciation. You can stay there, but you need to understand the outer truth for doing that, the material truth,
So
right? So you need the
Hinduism,
belt of the two.
we need Hinduism and Buddhism, I guess, also which give also the freedom.
Right, right. And the freedom and the spiritual and the science, you need all of it. So we are just now we are taking all the tools we have and saying, okay, now we can fulfill our role
Yeah.
as the thermostat species.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
So I say that, just Buddha wouldn't have been able to do it. You needed Genghis Khan to, and all this had happened because there is nothing wrong with what has happened. That's the story I'm trying to tell.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Toby?
Hello. Um, yeah, another really interesting episode. I've talked about this with some people a few times, different situations, and I always get asked a similar kind of question. What happens with people who always want to have their back to planet B, when we're in Planet B, when it's starting to, really take hold, people who want to rub the, they don't want to be part of it, and you say let them do their own thing, but I think maybe try and educate people more, like if Planet B's taken over, we don't put these people in prison. Do they go to school to learn more about it, or?
Well, that's a very interesting question. So how do you how do you make people want to collaborate and want to help you? You have to make them healthy. What is the sign of health? A healthy person wants to get up and help, right? Because it's not, it's when you're healthy, you're active, you have so much energy, and you want to now go and figure out how to help out. If someone is just moping around, and trying to ride off of this, they're not healthy. They still have a lack. There's something missing. And we have to understand what that is. So now, the healthcare profession will be about trying to make people whole, not about giving them, poison so that they can overcome their symptoms. That's what we have been doing in the medical profession. I said, no, it has to be about making people whole, understand how to make people whole. So at the end of, once you get through the healthcare system, you will be active and you want to help.
Yeah. So I can see that idea working. I got another point. Well, maybe it's just something. If you've heard about it, maybe you can let me know more about it. If you do, about Pope Francis wrote a scripture. I'm not sure what the name of it was. Just before he died, about the ecology and human well-being.
Laudato Si.
I'm not sure what it's called. There's quite a few things I've seen on the internet. I should have dug a bit more digging before I brought the question up, but because I've been talking to a chap about it, and he was telling me about this. Also, this Pope Leo is carrying on his work. Really, he's writing a similar thing, and he should be finished quite soon, maybe at the end of this month or something. I was wondering if you knew what he was writing at the moment, Pope Leo.
Yeah. Now, if you have influence in the Vatican, I say, please get them to sign the Convention on Biological Diversity and ratify it.
Right.
Because the Vatican still has not ratified the Convention on Biological Diversity. The Vatican hasn't ratified it, and the United States hasn't ratified it.
Right.
Okay. So those two are to me, that's the spiritual and cultural impediment right now for the work at the UN to continue. It's about just saying the UN is ineffective and all that, but it's ineffective because of the participants who don't want to, some who don't want to do anything. Now, the US is also walking out of the climate change conventions, right?
Well, the church here, it's very conservative, and they don't want to, especially in Spain, they don't want to really talk about anything of sorts. I've got a connection to a guy who's quite he's fighting the good fight, really. So he's looking to help us out and do whatever we can. But he says don't associate with political parties or anything like that, because if they'll see you in a different way. You want to be seen as neutral, really. So but yeah, it's all very interesting. Guess that was it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Toby. Yes, Sarthak.
Hi, thank you for the session. So I had I wanted to understand what is your view about One Health specifically. How do you see One Health as a concept to specifically integrate in the Planet B?
Oh, I'm absolutely for it. I mean, it is true. It's the truth. So One Health says that the health of the planet and the health of the community and the health of the individual are all connected, right? And it's true. So healing yourself will heal the community around you and then heal the planet eventually. So it works, but it works all both ways. So it has to be you have to create a system that fosters health. So if you have a system in which children are deceived into consuming sugar, sugar is considered to be an essential commodity,
Mm,
right? I mean, that's a clue.
mm,
Sugar is not an essential food commodity. Never was, never will be, okay, for health. But yet our government is saying that, and we have said, yeah, and we have gone along with it, right?
true. Yeah.
And they're offering the candy at eye level to children in supermarkets, and we haven't even protested that, right? So that is a system that's deliberately trying to cause diseases in human beings,
Mm,
right? It's trying to cause addiction in children.
mm,
And so why is the White House extolling uh, whole milk to be given to school children in the US? Did we not figure out that whole milk is not good for children? We know that,
yeah.
right?
Mm,
And yet there's a big ceremony about it, and everybody is saying, yeah, and clapping for it. What the heck? We are allowing them. So basically, they are all saying, the children are being recruited to be customers of the pharmaceutical industry in the future. Okay.
true. Yeah.
And we shouldn't be. So that's the anti-One Health,
Okay.
right?
That's absolutely opposite to what the real concept of One Health is. In
Correct.
fact, I believe sectors can also benefit from that. It's not that the One Health is very resistant in terms of sector, but you designing it systematically, like you say,
Hmm.
in a more systems thinking way, it will be uh, very spectrum friendly if applied in right way.
Hmm.
Right now they are ignoring the fact that One Health has a specific presence in the community, and it has a brief logic. If these things are not considered, it will any day fire back, and it's happening at some strength. And in
Right,
fact,
right.
specifically, in fact, I was going through that India for last 1 week. There's a topic like India is will have one of the largest aging population in coming years, in next 2 to 3 years, and One Health factor will play a very big role in that space, because we will have a lot of senior citizens, and they will be basically the kind of lifestyles we had, the kind of climate change we had in India. The One Health and veganism, or specifically the plant-based movement or
Hmm.
plant-based section, it
Hmm.
plays a lot of role.
Yeah. No. Before I even worry about that,
Yeah,
I worry about getting there. I mean, figure out how to get there where
yeah,
there are. Because if you're lobbing nuclear bombs around, you're not going to get there.
exactly.
So, so we have to first, uh, stop this
Hmm,
craziness that's going on and tell people we have to start solving problems, uh, identifying root causes.
exactly.
Yeah, not just symptoms of problems.
Hmm,
And that's where One Health concept comes in. It's like you have to address all the issues simultaneously.
Exactly. Until unless it won't work. In fact,
Yeah.
the like last time when we you said about that planetary boundaries, anything has some kind of specific like it has some kind of utility, and it has been like the time is coming that we are overutilizing it. The dependencies will eventually fade out, and it's happening. The kind of utility won't work for that sense.
Right.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Sai?
Hi, Dr. Sailesh. I had a question like, uh, just a second. I forgot. Yeah, grassroots versus top down. So you were mentioning in one of the previous conversation, like if the system changes, people will all automatically play the good game, the right game of honesty and everything, right? But then, do you primarily look at this whole transformation as a grassroots transformation or a top-down or a bottom-up approach? Because each has its pros and cons. Which is the fastest? Which should be the focus? Which is your focus? And I mean, overall, which should be the focus? Should it be the bottom-up or the top-down approach? And which is the fastest way for the transformation to Planet B? Is the first question.
It's both, no? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask the second question, but you can continue. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I see it as both. It's like so you're creating it's a feedback loop. So it goes around. So you have two actors, in the both bottom up and top down are there in the feedback loop. And so you have to strengthen this to push that, and you have to strengthen that to push this. So you have to create this virtuous cycle between the two.
Oh, great.
Right? And that's how you create something that gets better, bigger and bigger, and amplifies. It's like asking in a control system that you're building. You ask, okay, I put this feedback loop in. What do I amplify to make it happen? Right? But you amplify one side of the feedback, but the other one is dead. It's going to do nothing to it. You need both.
Okay.
You need both to create this. Okay. So this is why I'm on the one hand, we talk about America as the one that's breaking things. America is breaking things, yeah. But America is where I'm staying, and I'm using the freedom that America gives to allow me to do my work, So even though it's breaking things and it looks like it's the place where things are going crazy, and it's a bad actor in the system, right? But America also has the freedom for you to try different things. So you have to take advantage of every little thing that the system gives you on planet A to amplify both sides of the loop. So now, with the craziness that's going on, the complacency in other places has disappeared. Yes, they're not complacent anymore. Right? Now they're asking questions. Oh my God, is this the future? So I think Great Britain or UK just said, hey, you can't use our bases to go invade Greenland.
Yeah.
So it's like, the entire thing is being dissolved, right? And so now we have to say, look, why are you arguing about how to kill ourselves? We should be figuring out how to solve our problems.
Yeah.
I think this is the right time for a press conference or something like that to tell people, hello, there's a better way than figuring out where to launch the invasion from.
Of course.
Yeah. But this turmoil is necessary for people to be open to hearing other ideas.
Oh, so you had mentioned in many instances that what has happened is absolutely fine because we cut down forests and we prevented an ice age and all that. But how do you justify what's happening right now also is okay? I mean, with everything happening in the world, with respect to the environment and with respect to the war and everything, how can that be justified? How can that
I
be?
don't
How can we
justify
be okay
anything.
with it?
No, I don't
Not
justify.
justify. How can? Yeah, maybe it's
Yeah.
the wrong word, but
Yeah, no. But you always have to accept things as they are in order for you to be most effective at moving forward.
Mhm.
Okay. Don't spend your energy, worrying about what happened in the past and regretting what happened in the past. That's a waste of energy. Looking back into the past and wishing it was different. Okay. All that means when you wish something was different, all that means you didn't understand it enough. Look at it that way. Okay.
Mhm.
So because when you truly understand it, it'll be like the glaciation, being stabilized by agriculture kind of understanding you will get. And you realize, oh, maybe that was okay too. So whenever I think of something that happened in the past or that's happening today and that looks like it shouldn't have happened, I just say, well, I don't understand it enough. Now, given what I understand, what do I do going forward? How do I contribute the best at moving forward? So I never look at the past and regret anything. Just move forward to the future. What happened in the past is a lesson. It hopefully give you a lesson for how do you move forward. Okay. So everything is a signal for what we need to do in the present to move forward.
So that applies even to what's happening right now in the present.
Yeah, applies to everything. Yeah, to everything.
What's
Yeah.
And I was also going to ask, don't you think the Planet B vision is too complex to achieve and too large, too having too many things under it? It was only about veganism in the beginning, but now it is adding economy and many other things. So
it was always about everything. You didn't read my books properly. When even Carbon Yoga, I was talking about everything.
No, I did read your books, but it's been many years back.
Right. So it was always about changing the economic system, changing the currency system, changing the systems.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, all the systems have to be changed. It's not because veganism cannot sit in the current system. You cannot say, do everything else exactly as we are doing today, but just be vegan. Doesn't work. Because this system exploits human beings. Fundamentally exploits human beings. It exploits people on both sides of the coin. It's, people who have a lot are have been deceived into thinking they need a lot, right? And they are getting sicker and sicker by accumulating more and more. They're becoming more and more obese, right? Right. And at the other end, people have very little and they're starving. So this system exploits both sides, both human beings. So if you say, I want to now create veganism within the system, you're saying, I don't want to exploit animals, so prohibit the exploitation of animals. Let's continue exploiting each other.
Okay.
That doesn't work. So fundamentally, when you say, I don't want to exploit animals, you cannot exploit human beings.
Yeah, of course. Just like how EV, as you talk about, we have green economy like EVs and solar is to grow the economy at the end of the day.
Right.
Can't we have a vegan economy which will grow the economy but still have a vegan world?
Look, to me, growth should not be should not be an objective. Growth can be an outcome. I'm not opposed to growth as an outcome, provided you achieved it in order to accomplish an objective. That objective was real, like zero hunger. That's a good objective, right? Or like, good health for everybody. That's an objective. In the process of achieving the objective, if you grew, fine. In the process of achieving that objective, if you shrank, fine.
Yeah, but why I'm saying this is like because to me it feels like solving the economy issue is even difficult than achieving a vegan world, because how can we get people to redistribute their economic wealth? Because how can we get the billionaires to distribute their wealth to the bottom?
Very simple,
I mean,
very
why
simple,
would
very simple. Tell them you thought you were billionaires. All you have is a billion pieces of paper with George Washington on it. That's all you have. Okay? So you were playing another game on planet A, in which you accumulated a whole bunch of George Washingtons. Now, the George Washington's country it has become a pariah. Nobody likes them anymore. So, what do you have? Right? Basically, you need community. That's what you thought you had when you had, you have wealth. When you say you have wealth, what do you have? If you can get people to do things with you, you have wealth.
not for you,
Yeah, with you. Yeah,
with you.
Yeah, with you. So if you say, I mean, what for you? Why do you still have that hunger, that need, that you're still not complete? You have to first become healthy enough that you feel complete. So then you're constantly acting to help others. So I'm looking for I'm creating. I want to create the system where it becomes normal for people to be healthy, people to have access to healthy food, to be healthy, and then they're constantly contributing for the well-being of all life. And they're using their gifts to contribute to that. So transcend this idea of the planetary wealth. There are lots of ways of looking at wealth. It's well-being. Wealth is well-being, really.
Yeah, of course. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Danny?
So we have two questions. The first is from Lumak, who asks, how can non-engineers help?
Oh, yeah. No, my open letter to engineers was addressing engineers. That doesn't mean that non-engineers are not needed in the system. My God, we need storytellers, right? Ultimately, it's storytellers that are going to change people's mindsets. I mean, what is the story of War and Peace in Tolstoy? So basically, he was telling people it's not all these generals and these people with power who really create history. History is possibly created by one guy just grabbing a flag and running. So anyone can create that history by basically enacting a story, creating a story, some song, something that catches people.
Okay.
And how do you catch people like that? Well, we don't know what is going to catch people. So you have to do a whole bunch of stories and see which sticks.
Okay. Makes sense.
So yeah, there's lots of storytelling, there's art that needs to be done. This is the time when we all need to tell this story of well-being and Planet B. I mean, the whole idea of Planet B is to say, just saying vegan doesn't get people anymore. Okay? So we have to tell them something that brings them along with the whole package. Don't con them into thinking, oh, it will be the same. You just go eat vegan and that's it. Everything else is the same. Because that's a con, right? We know that. That's a deception. It's still a Planet A model. Because we know it's not true. Veganism means you're not exploiting animals, which means you're not exploiting human beings, which means you're out of Planet A. Planet A is fundamentally about exploiting each other.
Thank you. Second question comes from Michael. There is a concept in spirituality that describes if humans are handed everything without making efforts to receive, that dependency can become a mindset and orientation, resulting in a relatively lower satisfaction in life in contrast to the striving and earning process.
Yeah. We've been taught that. Yeah.
Okay. So while part of me thinks that universal basic income, food being free, everything being free sounds good on the surface, spiritually speaking, I believe there are sizable risks. Can you share your thoughts on this?
Yeah, we have to create a system around abundance. We know how to create systems around scarcity. So we have honed that over the last 10,000 years, okay? And why did Buddha not succeed? Why didn't, Jesus not succeed? There was no system around abundance. Okay. I fundamentally feel that, like, imagine this. This is how I would do it. Okay. I don't know we have to keep trying and we have to keep iterating to make things better. But we have to have the intention of creating a system in which everyone is taken care of. Everyone should feel like the community is there to support them, not to beat them and force them to do things. Okay? Violence is what people have been using in the past. Put people in jail, create all these fear-based schemes for obedience and for mass movement in one direction. Okay? Now, how would you do that? You have an overall objective first. I think of an engineering team. How did I do that in an engineering team? If I had gone and told people, if you don't do this, I'm going to fire you, it wouldn't have worked. Okay? People needed to, to accomplish some of these projects that we did, people were giving their life to make it happen. Literally, there were people who were coming over weekends. I didn't even ask them. Why did they do that? Because it became their project. They were so invested in it. And they were dreaming it too, not just me. And they were coming to fulfill their dreams. Now, how do you get people to that level of commitment to something? You have to make them whole. You have to help them see how amazing they really are. Now, how would you do this in a situation like this? Let's say, you have Olga, the Olga, the one who goes with a pad saying, we need all these things done and who's volunteering for what. And you notice that someone is not volunteering. Then the medical professionals will have to go visit them and saying, is there something wrong? Can we help you with something? We notice that you are not participating in the community. Because, as I said, if you're healthy, you want to help. If someone is not healthy, you have to figure out why they are not coming out with their gifts. That's a famous quote. I forget who said it now, who said that the greatest tragedy of human beings is the number of people who die with their song still in them. Now is the time for our song to come out. The planet wants us to be that force for good, okay, to restore the planet. There is no other time that I think of where it's so critical to help people bring their song out, you know. So which means you have to create systems around it. And that I can do. I know how to do that. So I would do things like that. I would assign some healthcare professionals who would monitor who's not volunteering and then go help them figure out how to volunteer. And that's their profession, because they are making people whole. In the current model, the doctor sits and waits until someone comes and says, I am sick. Can you fix me? Right? And then they're taught, just look at the symptoms and here is a prescription you have to do. You know, and this is what they did to me. If the guy has hyperthyroidism, kill his thyroid first. That's the process. And that's what they did to me, right? That's when I woke up and I said, wait a minute, this system is messed up. This is not how I would deal with it as a systems engineer. I don't go around saying, first kill that part of the chip. In fact, we had a rule in Intel, you don't test something because it's not necessary to test it. They'll say, why the heck is there? Why is it there? You don't have to test it. Take it out. So by that process, suddenly you have to test everything. You have to make sure that everything is tested and it's functioning well, right? So we have to make sure that everyone is functioning well. And that's so the medical profession will be now the opposite. They're not sitting there waiting for someone to come. They are going to be proactive. So I think of, planet B as the world of planet A turned upside down, meaning everything is the opposite of what we do today. And how would we do that?
Thank you.
Toby?
Hello again. I thought of another question. It's really more for me when I'm got my slideshows, and I've got a part in it which talks about, and we've talked about it before in earlier episodes, about human population. Whether it's a good thing to actually talk about it, because when I've been doing this research for these last few years, I've got I'm telling the story from the very beginning, and I feel like I've put like a Bible together. It's amazing to understand who we are, it's a new way of viewing the world. But the reason why I thought it's interesting to talk about is because of the industrial era. That's when the IPCC starts the counting, 1750, doing that big boom in
Yeah.
So that's why I thought about it. Well, that's when we all started to really, grow in population. We started to be able to emit more because we kept on the same way of living, and even we produced even more stuff, didn't we, just for ourselves? And but acknowledging the fact that with that came mass animal husbandry, do you think it's okay to also be saying it, for my slideshow? What do you think? Is it okay to talk about, do you think? Because I think you don't really talk about it much.
I usually don't talk about human population as an issue because because I was told that the world is not going to go vegan until the human population is down to 1 billion. So I immediately realized that's where their mind is. Their mind is, let's kill 7 billion people off.
Oh,
And and let me be one of the 1 billion who survive, right? So, and and then we'll say, okay, let's all go vegan now. Look,
Yeah.
if you did that, if that's your plan, I assure you that the Venus syndrome is a dead certainty. If that's your plan, okay, the Venus syndrome is going to be a dead certainty. So there is no future if you try to kill 7 billion people and try to be the 1 billion that survives, which I know is what's going on in the US. Okay, this is what's going on. And let the rest of the world die off. It doesn't matter to us. We want our little thing, right, in the US. That's what they're thinking. But that mindset is going to ruin us if we try it now. Okay, it's not going to work. It worked. It may have worked in the 1900s. Okay?
Yeah,
Kill a bunch.
that's not what I mean though. I don't mean to say to get rid of the amount of people. I mean, showing that the history of the reason why it's a great way for the IPCC to be framing that time period, as an explanation for why they're saying that. Because you do see the hockey stick, which is when all things started to boom,
Right.
We couldn't have done that without the fact there was loads of us to be able to create that, to make it happen. But just as an example, like to show the reason why.
Yeah. See, hockey stick, the exponential growth doesn't mean that it only started at the hockey stick, at the knee. It was building up all along. Okay. So it's building up all along, and now you have to make sure that it becomes like a sigmoidal function, not a sudden drop. Okay. They have to become like a stabilizing function and then go slowly down over time. You don't want a sudden drop.
So instead of saying the human population, maybe it's best to say like the Industrial Revolution.
No, I point out that as the human population increased by a factor of 7, the consumption increased by a factor of 70, something like that. In fact, I think the statistic I had was factor of 6 and 64 in carbon dharma. That's when I looked at that. Okay. So the factor of 6 increase in population from 1800 to 22,000, and the consumption increased by a factor of 64, as measured in the world GDP.
Right.
Okay, the equivalent GDP, if you look at it, consumption increased by a factor of 64. And so the goal was all along to make everybody consume at the same level as the nobles of the 19th century. So we all became nobles, more and more nobles. Why? Because we are conned into thinking happiness is outside of you. It begins with that first deception. And that's where the deception of the dangling sugar in front of the child comes from.
Right. Slowly disappearing.
It's very symbolic, Toby. You're getting darker and darker and disappearing.
Right.
Yeah. Brittany says you're going into planet B.
Good. I'll see you there.
Okay, see you soon.
Right, great. I'll let Danny get on. Cheers.
Okay. Bye. Danny?
Thank you. This is another question from Michael. Do you think there would be quite a leap for majority of mankind to shift from a place of needing extrinsic motivators to being intrinsically motivated to systemize the selfishness, generosity, and activism, as you put it? It sounds great in theory, but I'm wondering if the masses would make that psycho-spiritual shift and what it would really take and which persons would agree to physically create those conditions for this shift to be easy for mostly everyone alive today?
Yeah, the shift to looking inward and all that has to happen through the education system. It's going to take time. But fortunately, there is a transition process. In the transition process, there is plenty of work to be done outside. Right? Right now, a lot of us, like we ask each other, what do you do? So our identity is tied in what we do. What is your specialty? What do you do? And when and then when there is nothing to do, if you lose your job, you're a failure in the system. You're jobless, a failure in the system, right? So you have no identity to cling to. But at the same time, there's plenty of chemical pollution. There's lots and lots of landfills that need to be cleaned up. There's a whole mess we have created that needs to be cleaned up. But there is no money in it. Okay, because the system is not about cleaning up. The system is all about extracting and sending the wealth to a few people at the top. That's your role. That's what you're supposed to do. So now you have to create a system. It's all about cleaning up. And you still have an external identity. But now the identity is all about what portion are you cleaning up? What portion of the planet are you restoring? And that transition process is there in which you still have an external identity. And then you have to educate people. You don't have to look for an external identity. You're already whole. You were born whole. So we are not going to lure you with sugar and turn you into an addict. That's not our role as parents. That's not our role as society to do that. It was all basically we were being conned by the corporations into doing that. We are not going to do that anymore. So you have to when you create a new system, then that becomes a gradual process by which you will then not look for external validation for who you really are. I mean, this is the book, The Pinky Promise, that I wrote, in which I said she was already whole. I mean, she was born whole. And she knew, I had to learn from her. And I'm talking about my granddaughter. Okay. She already knew she was connected. And of course she got sent to school and they all, drilled into her, you're not whole. And they're trying to disconnect her. But we'll see.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Brittany.
It was a very long time wait for the question, so it might be tricky for me to pull it back up. But I was saying the part about the volunteering, and I just feel like there's some sort of level of reliance where maybe in the beginning you're switching away to volunteering, but after a while, I think it makes sense to not have to rely on even that, just have everything set up so that it's just living rather than having
Right.
to pitch in to do something. I
Right.
get that there's some level of volunteering where living life is volunteering to stay alive. You know
Right.
what I'm saying, where it's the
Yeah,
work
yeah.
based for something.
Right. Right. It becomes like automatic. You don't need that. I don't see Olga, a bee Olga going around telling other bees what to do. It just happens, right? They live their life together. Yeah. We'll get to that
Yeah, but
stage.
even if you aren't telling someone what to do, if someone feels called to do something, there's that level of obligation,
Mhm.
even if
Yeah.
they're choosing to. Yeah.
Right.
So where do you see it after that? Like, say we get to a volunteer stage. And then after that, we don't need a volunteer stage. Like, do you see something after that? Or do you think we would get to that, or we'd be in a volunteer stage?
I have to think of, I mean, when you're trying to coordinate something that's billion strong, we have figured out ways to get billions of us working together on something, working and buying into the same story. Okay, so when every one of us has bought into the story of the thermostat species and we are contributing to the well-being of the planet and so on, maybe at some point you really don't need, this coordination. It automatically happens. Someone comes and cleans up the mess. But initially we need it. So that's why I'm thinking about these structures, systems and structures.
Yeah, that's how I kind of see it too, where if you have enough people working on something, they're going to be working on it on their own. So it gets met just by them living life, that you don't have to go and say, someone's like, oh, there's a need for it. I think the only issue is when someone thinks that there's a need for something when it's already been done. And that's the biggest issue that I'm seeing, which is why I created my VCOP project, is to help have a showcase where you see everything that's been done, so it doesn't have to be created again. Otherwise, it's duplicating it, and it's just redundancy doesn't sets us back. So yeah, it's like we gotta start appreciating what we have, seeing what we have, and working with it rather than trying to feel called to it and trying to get others to be called to it, where they feel without that they need something. So I feel like we are getting to that point, but yeah, I agree. We need to start switching our mindset. We can't just be like trying to depend on everyone to get everything done and rely on that. We gotta work with what we have for what we got in order to get to that state of like true post scarcity and post need. Oh, I'd call this more post need than post scarcity, because you can have everything but not know it, and then just because you have everything doesn't mean you're going to use it. So get to that, and the reason why we don't even think about post need is because I kind of created that term. We always think about post scarcity, nothing past that. But yeah, if we get it to that point of post need mentally, we're gonna have everything we need. We don't have to rely on others. So yeah, see what you're saying.
Go ahead, Amit.
Yeah, I know it's near about midnight over there, and you have to wake up and go ahead for the next one as well tomorrow morning. I had 3 animated videos by Steve Cutts, and those tie in very well with what you have just spoken today. So can I play those 3 videos, 3 minutes each?
Sure.
It's near about 9 minutes. So we'll stop the broadcasting, live broadcasting, and I'll stop recording as well.